So this is the cinematography assignment, analysis assignment, and I'm going to run you through all the things that you can do to interact with it. A lot of this is review, and if you take the time to watch this, I think it's only 10 minutes long, 15 minutes. It's a really good primer and history on the evolution of cinematography and some of the greats. And a good film that uses good cinematography is timeless. Even though it may be black and white, it's still watchable. And so when you kind of study other people, and one of my favorite cinematographers is Roger Deakins, who did Blade Runner 2049, but a ton of other films. And I was just watching another short video with some cinematographers talking about the future of cinematography. And I haven't had a chance to watch the whole thing, but they were referencing The Mandalorian and how that's going to change how cinematography is done, because they're using screens in the background for some productions and not real live elements. But one of the things they said is to study other people and what they do. You can learn a lot more if you're interested and you explore YouTube videos or cinematographers, especially if you find one that fits your style, and especially if you find one that does something that you can replicate, that you can practice. There's so many tools that we don't have access to, lenses and lights, but framing and color treatment are all things that we can do with the films that we got. So take a look at that and use that as a primer. The storyboard, we've done this one before because everyone who's taken a film one class has talked about the Jurassic Park scene and how a storyboarder tries to plan out their shots so that when they create the shot, they're incorporating framing, rule of thirds, and camera movements into those shots so that it's a plan that allows you to communicate with everybody on the team so that everyone knows what the shot's going to look like. You can share it with your actor. You can share it with if you have a separate director of photography. It's something that you can go over in production meetings before you have a shot, and it's a good tool. Again, it's review, but I'm putting all the resources there. And if you scroll down, it's got references to the kind of the universal storyboard format that I created, where I'm asking people to talk about shot number, location, framing, camera movement, not the movement of on-screen camera movement. You can draw arrows and really sketch and plan out what it is you want to do, including how long the shot is, which I think a lot of people forget to think about in your mind. You know, is it a 1 second shot? Is it a long panning 10-second shot where you're taking time with the camera? And then space for small text and small dialogue and small notes that will help you plan out that particular shot. Again, later we'll talk more about using screenplay format and a tool that that I found that hopefully still works. That's what I need to test. That allows you to share a screenplay with me and develop it over time, so that you're looking at it from more of a dialogue and scene breakdown, and then doing the storyboarding after that, which is an easier way to do it. When you're planning out multiple shots, sometimes when I ask you to do the storyboard first, it's better to have the script and the screenplay. But I made a conscious choice not to really try to touch that until film 2, because film 1's all about visual language, visual storytelling. So a lot of this is review for all the camera movements, for the types of framing. And again, I simplified it. There's about 15 or 20 different ways that you can break down how close or how far you get to a subject. These are the 5 that I think will work for almost any high school filmmaker, because you don't need to get that detailed to be good at it. Then the rule of thirds, reviewing that, you've got hot spots that you use to focus on key subjects. Don't center everything. You've got these horizontal lines that allow you to line up horizons or break up your visual elements into 3, and you can do that vertically too. Use these lines to line up your subjects so that you don't have a lot of empty space, so that you're separating, moving your subject off center. And if you have another thing that's important, you might want to put that on the opposite end. So if you start watching, I was watching Lord of the Rings, and just thinking about simple dialogue scenes, usually one person's here and one person's there, and they're talking to each other, but the rule of thirds are being used all the time. So the assignment builds on that. And I did give it to a film 1 class. If you are one of those who's taken it, just take this and try it with a different film. Here is the assignment. It's called a cinematography analysis. Step 1, you're going to do the top 25 cinematographers of 2020. And I want your list to start from here, because this will give you someone to look up. who is a well-known cinematographer and will usually give you good, there's my favorite, Roger Deakins, good film references that you can study and find scenes from some of the movies that they've done. So really you just want to identify one of the top ones in their business. This was the one who I was reading about today, actually did a lot of Quentin Tarantino films. He said one of his big tips was to not get rid of the eyepiece, because a lot of us are now framing movies where we're looking at a screen and not looking through the lens. And he said that, you know, when you're looking through an eyepiece, all you see is what the film's going to be. And when you're looking in a screen or a monitor, you still see the rest of the world. So it's distracting you from what world you're trying to capture. It's a good tip from another good cinematographer. But basically, that's all I'm asking you to do is to find someone on this list. There's another list that IMDb has where it goes further back in time. So if you really want to do some historical, some of the old school cinematographers are here as well. One downside of cinematography lists, if you look at it, is most of them are males. There are not a lot of famous cinematographers, although that is changing. So, you know, try to find someone. And also, you know, minority cinematographers are in the minority. So if you find a cinematographer that you want to research that's maybe not a mainstream cinematographer, I want to give you the ability to find someone you think that you can learn from. When you click on that cinematographer from this list, or you find someone from this list, what you need to do is you need to go to IMDb and identify the films that cinematographer has done. So since I mentioned a female cinematographer, I'm gonna, the wrestler, she was actually mentioned in this video, the one that talks about top cinematographers, because they did mention that female cinematographers and directors are rising. So I'm going to go ahead and look at Maurice Alberte and just look at her film list. And these are all films that she worked on as a director of photography, which is the same as a cinematographer. Creed was another one, a good one for some handheld in the ring, flowing, tracking boxing shots. And then you decide which film it is you want to look at. At that point, your best bet for this is to move to a YouTube clip of a scene that you can study. It can be the introduction scene. It can be a scene in the middle. But what I'll ask you is to make sure that the scene has some dynamic cinematography. And because what I'm looking for, since this is going to be a Criterion A assignment, is I'm looking for you to apply some of the rules of some of the camera movements, some of the ways that things are framed, some of the ways that they're using the rule of thirds. When I watch this video that you'll produce, and I'll get to that in a second, what I'm listening for is how you use the language. And the more that you use, the stronger your Criterion A score is, because that's a big part of this is subject-specific terminology. So again, this is film 2. All of this is review from film 1. And it's an opportunity for you to show me you know what these things mean and can apply them to a film analysis. The more that you talk about, the more you explain what you mean, the stronger you are. So if you just say, oh, they use the rule of thirds, well, that's a 2 or a 3. If you say they're using the rule of thirds because in one, you notice in one of the hotspots that there's an actor and they're looking at something and it's in the other hotspot on the left side, well, now you're getting a little bit closer. If you start to talk about why and what that does, and again, you don't have to say an extreme amount of detail for every single shot, but after I've watched it, I'm asking myself, are you getting to the why and the what and what the goal of it is and why the shot was set up the way that it was shot? That's where you're going to be scoring a 7 or 8 on this assignment, because again, we're just taking terms that we've used before and trying to apply them to a scene. So what do I do with all this? Where do I go with this? Well, you got to find a cinematographer. You got to find a film that you're connected to, and then you got to find the scene. Once you do that, there is a tool here called the Cinematography Analysis Form. I hope it works. If it doesn't work, you'll have to let me know, and I'll change the link to make it work. But I think that you can open it up, and you can copy it, make a copy, so that you have the tools to break it down. This is something I'm going to ask you to turn in. You can turn it in digitally, but I think the best bet is to print it out or recreate this exactly and this exactly, so that you can take a scene and break down. I want to make sure that I got my number right. I think it was 12 shots in a row was what I came up with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And maybe it was 15. But I do want to see a good example that's gonna look something like this. Okay. When I did this as my own example, I took the Blade Runner 2049 opening scene, and I sketched out each shot for shot, really careful with the details, and then wrote my notes on lighting or intent. What is it they're showing you? Why are they showing it to you? And this really gives you, I can assess this all by itself. It's not going to be as strong as if you produce the video, but I can see some things that you saw in it. And I can definitely see if you're using the right terms. But at that point, what you're creating for yourself is a set of detailed notes, 4, 8, 12, 15, yes, 15. A set of detailed notes for you to do your scene analysis. So if you go scene by scene, shot by shot, take the time to sketch it out, take the time to jot some notes down. I'm not looking for excellent drawing skills. Just try to get your foreground and your background and a general sense of the direction of the camera. And then you could use that when you create your video. So let me make sure that I have this set up. I'm going to show you what the scene looks like without any commentary. I might have to jump ahead because this is all the intro. We already did. Production logos. Sorry about this. This is what it's like when I'm reading through it. I'm trying to find the right timing. I think about there that I stopped. That's 15 shots. And so again, if you can find the clip on YouTube, watch it first. Just watch it. Don't just start getting your pencil out and sketching out scenes. Take it in. Think about what you're seeing, and then watch it again very carefully, scene by scene, with the time to analyze it, and jot your notes down, and find out what kind of framing it is. It starts with an extreme close-up, moves to a long shot, talking about the way that the camera's moving, it's tilting, it's also in flight. I talk about all of that. If you have your notes handy, then what you're going to do, and the easier way to do this, I think I had it as an editing project, which just took way too much time. is to use a tool called Screencastify. And Screencastify is a pretty easy one to set up. And when you do that, I'll show you really quickly how this works. You'll see an app that shows up like this. And Screencastify allows you to, and you do not need to turn the camera on. You could do just the desktop, that's fine. You want to make sure that everything's set up to work, and you'll notice there's a 5-minute limit per video. And I'll say, pay attention to that, because I've seen some film analysis and some videos get cut off. And if you do get cut off, but you still demonstrate good knowledge of the scenes that you talk about, I will not hurt your grade if I see what I need to see and hear what I need to hear. But definitely try not to spend too much time on it is my main point. Go through the scenes, hit some of the high points. Don't just read off your notes. Get to the why. What are they doing and why? Because that's what I'm listening for. So if you just do the desktop, you can hit record. You'll get a 3, 2, 1 countdown after you choose the entire screen. And then basically you start talking. And as you do that, you want to have your YouTube video open so that you can go through the scene and talk about it. Again, with your notes handy. Talk about all the things that you observed, use your notes to discuss and show me the scene while you're talking about it. You can have it running quietly in the background. You can just zoom to the scene that you want to talk about and just show it in a still. And then just keep moving through it, just like you were when you were sketching it. So say what you have to say while looking at the visual. When you are done with that recording, you go back up to the little icon here. Oh, it's right here. Screencastify, stop sharing. Boom. There's a stop. I have so many things on my screen right now, and it's a laptop, so I'm not always with it here. You've got this. And because it's connected to your Google app, you want to make sure the audio works. About it while looking at the visual. Okay, so audio works. Because it connects to your Google account, it automatically will save this here in Screencastify, but it will also put a copy in your Google Drive. And when it's in your Google Drive, it's this quick. You can copy a shareable link, and you can send that to the assignment. So if I was going to take all the time to switch to a student view, I could do that, turn it in, and then I get to see your work. I'm also going to ask you to try to turn in an image of the sketches that you did in preparation for this video. Is it possible to do it without the sketches? Yes, but you're going to miss a lot of the opportunities to show me knowledge and understanding. So if it comes through like you're not really prepared, it's going to be a lot harder for you to prove to me that you know cinematography, framing, and rule of thirds, and that you've really done enough analysis to understand why the director did that or the cinematographer did that. And again, keep in mind that the goal here is to really provide a good analysis that shows a little bit of everything, and not to read off, well, this is a medium shot, this is a dolly shot. And I'll try and give you a demo. So we saw that scene that I did, and this one's a little bit long, but this is what it will look like. In the end, this is what I want to hear. Something like this. All right, this is an analysis of Blade Runner 2049, starting from the opening shot and continuing. I'm going to start with the opening shot. It's an extreme close-up of an eyeball. The camera is slowly zooming in, and as it zooms in, the eye opens. And it's a good way to open a film, but I think it's a little bit more than that. One of the central themes of the film is about consciousness and the soul, and what it means to be alive. And looking into the eyes is the window of the soul. So I think that the symbolism here is partly that, partly awakening, partly consciousness. The transition from eyes closed to eyes opens is a good way to open a film. And it's never really established who this is, whether it's a replicant, and in the film it's a artificial human or a real person's eyes. And I don't think that anyone could tell the difference because of the way that they're built. And then it transitions to a completely different shot. This is an exterior shot. It's hard to tell exactly what it is, but you're flying above a solar panel array. And the camera is dollying forward while it's tilted down to reveal the scale and the scope of this array, but the shape of the eye is still there. So there's a transition from the visual shape of the eye to the visual shape of this opening shot, but it's something completely different. It's showing you a solar panel array and the tower that collects it, presumably. Then it shifts to a more traditional view, so you can understand what it was that you looked at if you didn't see it and understand it the first time. That was a little bit more abstract. This shows the tower, the mirrors, some reflection coming off the mirrors, and these are things that exist in real life, but when you see in the background, especially in some of the other shots, you start to see that there's more than just one, that they're stacked next to each other in a vast landscape, which is really best revealed in this shot, this tilting up shot that's tilting to reveal not one, not two, not three, but 4 or 5. The skimmer flies over the top, and that's where you're getting a lot of the other shots from. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Continues to tilt up, and it kind of reveals a very smoggy, polluted-looking world, and it's California, 2049, which is revealed in text. And that shot really says a lot about the world, and a lot of this is all world building. The flying cars, the large-scale solar panels, the fog, it's all starting to paint a picture. Then it shifts to the interior of the skimmer. I'm going to move this out of the way. And if you're watching, you can see it's autopilot. Los Angeles police is established twice. The character's here, introduced. You see that it's a detective. And you're inside the skimmer. There's some slight bob to the camera movement, and they did that to make sure it still felt like there was movement. Because in a car, even a flying car, there's going to be a little bit of a bob, and you can see that here. And that bob continues to this close-up shot behind the back, over the shoulder. And it shows the main character asleep. And that's kind of a good action to start out, that the main character is bored by the flight and not interested in looking out the window or seeing the world, or they've seen it before, or it's just so drab and dull, why bother?
I think you're muted.
Just now, right? Like I did not the whole time.
It might have been the whole time.
How long have I been muted?
Or I mean, for like the video.
Oh, okay, good, thanks. Yeah, I was losing people, and people are dropping out, so I'm guessing that people know what to do, and maybe they don't want to watch it, so I'm going to wrap it. If you want to watch my example, you can. I'm just trying to show you what a 7 or an 8 looks like, because you have to take a bit of time to prepare it and do your analysis. So really, I'm going to stop the recording now.